Let's be honest, we've all been there. That one coworker who just knows how to get under your skin. The one who's a master of the backhanded compliment, the king or queen of the complaint department, or a black belt in taking credit for your hard work. Dealing with difficult people is a part of life, especially in the workplace. But what if I told you there's an ancient philosophy that can equip you with the mental armor to not just survive these encounters, but to actually thrive these encounters, but to actually thrive in spite of them? In this video, I'm going to share 5 powerful Stoic techniques that you can start using today to deal with those challenging coworkers. We'll go beyond the usual, just ignore them. Advice and dive into practical strategies you can apply in real-life situations. Technique 1. Focus on what you can control. I used to have a coworker named Bob who had a habit of constantly interrupting me during meetings. Initially, I felt frustrated and annoyed. As I felt frustrated and annoyed, as I felt disrespected, emotion. However, I realized that getting angry with Bob wouldn't solve anything. Focusing on what I can control, my reaction. Instead of reacting negatively, I decided to apply some Stoic techniques. First, I focused on what I could control, which was my response and actions. I couldn't change Bob, but I could change the way I interacted with him, using reason. Next, I set boundaries calmly and professionally. The next time Bob interrupted, I gently said, "Bob, please let me finish my thought, and then I'll be happy to hear what you have to say." I repeated this each time he interrupted, consistent action. At the same time, I also tried to understand Bob's perspective, empathy. I realized that he was probably just very eager to contribute and didn't realize he was interrupting. This helped me feel less irritated with him. During one meeting, when Bob interrupted again, I patiently waited for him to finish his point. Then I said, "Bob, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I want to make sure everyone has a chance to share their ideas. Could you please let me finish my point, and then we can discuss it together?" This time, Bob apologized and paid more attention to letting others finish. Positive outcome. Finally, I kept reminding myself of my own virtue. I wanted to be a professional, calm, and respectful person, regardless of how others behaved, focusing on my own virtue. By applying these Stoic principles, I was not only able to improve the situation with Bob, but also felt more composed and in control of myself at work. Actionable tip. When dealing with a difficult coworker, ask yourself, is this within my control? Is this within my control? If not, consciously choose to let it go and focus on your own actions. Technique 2. Practice empathy and understanding. I had a coworker named Sarah who was constantly negative and complaining about everything, from the workload to the office temperature. It was easy to get annoyed by her constant negativity. It was easy to get annoyed by her constant negativity. Initial emotion. However, I decided to use this as an opportunity to practice Stoic principles. First, I focused on what I could control. I couldn't change Sarah's personality or her attitude, but I could control my own reactions and how I chose to interact with her. Dichotomy of control. Instead of letting her negativity affect my mood, I made a conscious effort to use reason and logic. I reminded myself that her complaints were likely a reflection of her own internal struggles, and not a personal attack on me. Using reason. Then, I tried to practice empathy and understanding. I considered that she might be going through a difficult time in her personal life. Maybe she was dealing with stress, health problems, or family issues that I wasn't aware of. This helped me to feel more compassion towards her, instead of irritation, practicing empathy. While I tried to be understanding, I also knew it was important to set boundaries. When she started complaining, I would acknowledge her feelings by saying something like, "I'm sorry you're feeling overwhelmed, Sarah." But then I would gently steer the conversation towards a more positive topic, or I'd excuse myself if I felt her negativity was dragging me down. If she is talking about a work problem and it is something solvable, I would offer solutions. If the solution was not accepted, I would politely remove myself from the conversation, setting boundaries. Most importantly, I focused on maintaining my own virtue. I wanted to be a positive and supportive coworker, but I also had to protect my own well-being. By focusing on my own actions and reactions, and not letting Sarah's negativity dictate my mood, I was able to stay true to my values. Virtue is the highest good. This Stoic approach helped me to deal with Sarah's negativity in a more constructive way. It didn't magically change her behavior, but it helped me to maintain my own peace of mind and create a more positive work environment for myself. Actionable tip. Next time a coworker frustrates you, try to imagine what might be going on in their life that could be contributing to their behavior. Offer a kind word or a listening ear, if appropriate. Technique 3. Use reason and logic, not emotion. I once had a coworker named John who took credit for my idea during a team meeting. My initial reaction was a surge of anger and frustration, initial emotion. I felt it was completely unfair, but I knew that reacting impulsively wouldn't help the situation, recognizing the need for reason. So I took a deep breath and reminded myself to focus on what I could control. My own actions and response. Dichotomy of control. I couldn't control John's behavior, but I could control John's behavior, but I could control how I presented my case. Instead of confronting John directly in the meeting and potentially creating more conflict, I decided to address the issue calmly and strategically after the meeting, using reason and logic. First, while still in the meeting, I made sure to state clearly and confidently, "I'm glad that idea resonated with everyone." I've been working on developing that concept for a while now, and I have some additional materials that further elaborate on its potential. This was to professionally reiterate my work on the idea. I gathered concrete evidence of my contribution, which included emails, drafts, and notes documenting the development of the idea. After the meeting, I then approached my supervisor privately, choosing the right time and place. I calmly explained the situation, saying something like, "I wanted to clarify my role in developing the idea name concept that was discussed in the meeting. I understand there might have been a misunderstanding, but I have documentation showing my work on it." Then I presented the evidence I had gathered, presenting evidence clearly and professionally. I also sent John a brief professional email stating that I was glad he liked my idea and that I was available to collaborate on it further, since I had already done extensive work on the idea. My supervisor acknowledged my contribution and addressed the issue with John. While John never fully admitted to taking credit, it became clear to everyone in the team that the idea originated with me. What was most important for me was that I had handled it with integrity and professionalism. Importantly, my supervisor recognized my initiative, and I was subsequently assigned the project, positive outcome, and focus on virtue. I maintained my composure and acted in accordance with my values, acting virtuously. This experience taught me the importance of responding thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. By applying Stoic principles, I was able to navigate a difficult situation, protect my professional reputation, and ensure that my work was properly recognized. Actionable tip. When faced with a difficult situation, Pause before responding. Ask yourself, what is the most rational and productive way to handle this? Technique 4. Set boundaries. I had a coworker named Mary who had a habit of gossiping about other people. She would constantly come to my desk to share the latest rumors and negative stories about our colleagues. At first, I found myself getting drawn into these conversations, even though they made me uncomfortable. Initial reaction: I realized that engaging in gossip wasn't aligned with my values and was disrupting my peace of mind. Recognizing the need for change, I decided to apply some Stoic principles to address the situation. First, I focused on what I could control: my own actions and reactions. I couldn't force Mary to stop gossiping, but I could control whether or not I participated in those conversations. Dichotomy of control. Next, I started setting clear boundaries. The next time Mary approached me with gossip, I politely but firmly said, "Mary, I appreciate that you want to share things with me, but I'm trying to stay out of office gossip. I'd rather focus on work." Communicating boundaries clearly. When she persisted, I would redirect the conversation to work-related topics. For example, I might say, "Speaking of work, how's that project going?" Or, "Hey, did you see that email from the boss about the new deadline?" Using practical techniques. If she continued to gossip, despite my efforts, I would excuse myself from the conversation. I might say, "I'm sorry, Mary, but I really need to focus on this task right now," and then put on headphones or walk away to get a cup of coffee, physically removing myself. I also made a conscious effort to limit unnecessary interactions with Mary. I stopped going to the break room at the same time she did and avoided engaging in social conversations where she was present. This wasn't about being rude, but about protecting my own energy and peace of mind. Protecting inner peace. Most importantly, I focused on acting in accordance with my own virtue. I didn't want to be known as a gossiper. I wanted to be someone who was focused, positive, and respectful of others. Focusing on virtue. By consistently applying these Stoic techniques, I was able to create a more peaceful work environment for myself. Mary eventually stopped coming to me with gossip, and I felt much better knowing that I was staying true to my values. The key was focusing on my own actions and reactions, and not letting Mary's behavior dictate my own peace of mind, emphasizing inner peace. Actionable tip. Identify your boundaries. What behaviors are you not willing to tolerate? Communicate these boundaries clearly and consistently to your coworkers. Technique 5. Remember your own virtue. I had a coworker named Tom who seemed to go out of his way to make my work life difficult. He would constantly criticize my work, micromanage my projects, and even spread rumors about me to other colleagues. It was incredibly frustrating and demoralizing to deal with this behavior on a daily basis. Describing the challenging situation. Despite my best efforts to address the issue directly with Tom and set boundaries, his behavior persisted. I realized that I couldn't change him, and trying to do so was only draining my energy and affecting my well-being. Recognizing the limits of control. That's when I decided to double down on the Stoic principle of focusing on my own virtue. I reminded myself that true happiness and fulfillment come from within, from living in accordance with my values, regardless of external circumstances. Virtue as the source of happiness. I made a conscious effort to embody the virtues that were important to me: professionalism, integrity, resilience, and kindness. Professionalism. I continued to produce high-quality work, meet deadlines, and contribute positively to the team, despite Tom's attempts to undermine me. I acted as if he wasn't trying to sabotage me and focused on doing my best. Integrity. I refused to engage in gossip or backstabbing, even when Tom tried to drag me into it. I always took the high road and acted in accordance with my principles. I would not let him bait me into acting in a way I would regret. Resilience. I viewed Tom's behavior as a challenge to overcome, an opportunity to strengthen my inner resolve. Instead of letting him get me down, I used the situation to build my resilience and mental fortitude. I continued to remind myself that my reaction was what was important. Kindness. Even though it was difficult, I continued to treat Tom with respect. I responded to his criticisms calmly and professionally, and I never resorted to personal attacks. By consistently focusing on my own virtue, I was able to create an internal locus of control. My happiness and self-worth were no longer dependent on Tom's behavior or approval. This inner strength allowed me to navigate the challenging situation with greater peace and composure. It may be necessary to bring the behavior to the attention of your supervisor or if he is breaking company policy or making you feel unsafe, knowing when to seek help. Ultimately, while I couldn't change Tom, I could change myself. By embodying my values and focusing on my own virtue, I was able to not only survive a difficult work situation, but also grow stronger and more resilient in the process. This experience taught me that true power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering oneself, emphasizing self-mastery. Actionable tip. Focus on your own values. How do you want to show up at work each day? Let your own virtue be your guide, even when faced with difficult people. So, there you have it. 5 powerful Stoic techniques to help you navigate the choppy waters of difficult coworkers. Remember, it's not about changing other people. It's about mastering your own reactions and focusing on what you can control. Your thoughts, your actions, and your virtue. By focusing on what you can control, practicing empathy, using reason, setting boundaries, and remembering your own virtue, you're not just surviving a challenging work environment. You're building resilience, cultivating inner peace, and ultimately becoming a stronger, more centered version of yourself. Dealing with difficult people is a universal challenge, and these Stoic principles offer a timeless roadmap for navigating those interactions with grace and integrity. It's a journey of self-improvement, and the benefits extend far beyond the workplace. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these techniques resonated with you the most? Have you had any experiences where Stoic principles helped you deal with a difficult coworker or challenging situation? Share your stories and insights in the comments below. Let's learn from each other and build a community of Stoic wisdom. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more content on Stoicism and personal development, and share it with anyone who might benefit from these techniques. Until next time, remember to focus on your own virtue and keep striving to live your best life, no matter what challenges come your way.